was, in a nutshell, why do we sabotage potentially good relationships? Why do we put up roadblocks to good relationships? People that are promising, people that are different than what we've been accustomed to. Why do we find a way to dismantle it? And I think you have to admit that a lot of us are guilty of that. We're guilty of, here's what we're guilty of. We're guilty of ignoring red flags relative to people who are clearly and obviously not right for us. We're guilty of ignoring the red flags of those persons, and then we're guilty of taking a suitable person, a good person, a decent person, and making it difficult for them. Let me say that one more time. We're guilty of ignoring the red flags of a person who is so clearly a devil, he or she has horns sticking out of the back of their head. We're guilty of ignoring the red flags of those persons and making it easy for them, thank you, Jeanette, making it easy for them to disrupt our lives, destroy, our lives, and then finding a decent person and making it hard or difficult for them. We're guilty of taking a person that is a degenerate and allowing them to do the crime over and over and over and over and over again, and then finally meeting a decent person and making them do the time. We make another person pay, one person pay for another person's crime. That's something that happens quite frequently, isn't it? So I want to just kind of touch on this as I thought about it after the question was asked of me. We do tend to function in extremes. We start off, of course, by giving ourselves entirely too much to the wrong people who break us. And then we meet a person that is safe and decent or productive, and we reserve ourselves to an unreasonable extent. We open ourselves up to the wrong person too much, and we close ourselves off to potentially good persons too much. We go from one extreme to another. Now, and that's interesting, isn't it? That our psychology would work like that. That I would be so free to give myself to a person that so clearly does not deserve me, and be so hesitant about even giving a decent person a chance. The Apostle Paul addressed something similar to this, where there's this this internal warfare, within a person. I think they call it cognitive dissonance. And in Romans 7:15 through 19, I'll read from the Amplified version of the Bible. He says, listen to what Paul says. He says, "For I do not understand my own actions. I am baffled, bewildered. I do not practice or accomplish what I wish, but I do the very thing that I hate, which my moral instinct condemns. Now, if I do habitually what is contrary to my desire, that means that I acknowledge and agree that the law is good, morally excellent, and that I take sides with it. However, it is no longer I who do the deed, but the sin principle, which is at home in me and has possession of me. For I know that nothing good dwells within me, that is in my flesh. I can will," listen to these words. He says, "I can will what is right, but I cannot perform it. I have the intention and urge to do what is right, but no power to carry it out. For I fail to practice the good deeds I desire to do, but the evil deeds that I do not desire to do are what I am always doing." Isn't that interesting? And I think Paul really sums it up so clearly and eloquently relative to the human condition of, having a higher desire internally in one's spirit, and then having a part of you that rebels against the thing you know is right and pulls you to the thing you know is wrong, causes you to push against the thing, the higher and moral and right thing you desire to do, and magnetizes you to the lower thing you desire to get away from. That's a reality within all of us, to some extent, and it's also the case in terms of relationships. Now, there are four things that I've outlined that I believe, these four things I believe. Of course, there are more, but these are the four things that I want to address today relative to why we sabotage, potentially good relationships. Number one, we've not healed from the trauma of past experiences. You're sabotaging this one because you've not really healed from the trauma of your past experiences. Maybe you didn't take enough time to do your self-work. Maybe you didn't take enough time to self-reflect. Maybe you've not taken enough time to really process and to grow and to heal and to discover yourself. And maybe you entered into, trying to formulate some new relationship too quickly. And maybe you just really were not personally ready. But we're not. Listen to this. When we've not healed from the trauma of past experiences, here's something I believe to be true. When we've not healed from the trauma of past experiences, we are not truly emotionally available. Thank you, Eileen. God bless you. We're not truly emotionally available because of fear of being hurt again. So a part of you says, I want a relationship, but because you've not healed, there's a part of you that's still living in fear. And so because you're still living in fear, you don't realize it subconsciously, you're in defense mode. You're not really in a posture emotionally where you're ready to open up and to receive a person into your life for real. You're in a mode where you're in fear of being hurt again. Now, and as I said earlier, we're charging a new person with another person's crimes. So this new person, who may be safe and decent, has to pay the price for the indecent and toxic individual who broke you. And because you didn't take the time to really truly heal, emotionally you are not really available because you are fearful of being hurt again. And there's a part of you that knows this is a good person and I don't want to lose this person, but then there's that part of you that's not really been healed, and it always finds a way to create drama wherever there's been trauma. And so you always find a way to disrupt harmony. You always find a way to create chaos where there's peace, and you eventually drive the person away. And if you're in that kind of state and you're watching me, I would suggest this to you. I would suggest, if you have a person in your life that is a decent person that you think can really be the one, and you know for yourself that you've been in this cycle of sabotage, you've been in this sabotage circle, I would suggest to you, if you really think this person is the one, that you would have a real heart-to-heart with them relative to where you are on your healing or in your healing process. That they understand your past, what you've gone through, the trauma you've experienced, and so that they don't take your dysfunctional, erratic behavior personally. And if they're really the one, they'll be strong enough to love you through all of that. And when a person can love you through your brokenness, you really have a jewel. But don't allow them to misunderstand or misread your behavior for rejection of them. It would be better for you to be honest with them about where you've come from and where you are emotionally, and let them choose to participate in that process or not, than to just sit there and just continue on the track you're on and then just have them walk out of your life with the wrong or misunderstanding. Because then what could possibly happen is that the brokenness that you brought into the relationship can send them out of the relationship broken. And the last thing you want to be is a hurt person that's hurting people. The last thing you want to do is to be a person that's broken and breaking other people. And the only way to avoid that is to really communicate completely, because when you're in this mode where you've not healed from the traumas of the past, you're sending out a lot of mixed signals, and you're making people feel like something's wrong with them. You're unintentionally doing the same thing to them that other people did to you intentionally. And that's the last thing you want to do. So if you're there and you know that you're broken and you're hurting, but you still want to try to fight for this relationship, you can't fight but from a place of truth and honesty and transparency. And so you have to, I think you owe it to the person to be honest with them so that they can understand you. Because right now, they're not understanding you, if that makes sense to you. And the Bible says in 1 John 4:18, there is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear, watch this, fear has torment. Fear has torment. When you're constantly afraid that you're going to be hurt again, the spirit of fear torments you. It plays upon your mind. It gives you all of these ideas, and it shows you these vivid images of what's getting ready to happen. This person is getting ready to break your heart. And then what happens is you go through this process where you say, well, before they hurt me, I'm going to hurt them. And you find yourself doing all of this crazy stuff because fear has torment. Fear torments us. Now, number two, I'm going to try to keep this as close to a half hour as I can. Number two, why do we sabotage potentially good relationships? Our broken consciousness won't allow us to accept our worthiness of better. Our broken consciousness won't allow us to accept our worthiness of better. When another person has broken you and spoken so many lies into your subconscious mind, your spirit, those things have a tendency to live in you and to hang around. And when another person that is, just a whole different world apart from the previous person, just a decent, genuine, individual comes and they want to love you, your broken consciousness won't allow you. It interferes with the process, and it won't allow you to accept your worthiness of better. In other words, you begin to question, am I good enough? These are the conversations that will go on in your mind. Am I good enough? Is this too much for me? Is this true? And what's going on is that your broken consciousness is fighting against a new norm. Your norm is dysfunction. Your norm is, somebody lying, somebody abusing you, somebody talking crazy to you. Your norm is somebody that's not honest, somebody that keeps you crying, and somebody that keeps you off balance. And you find a person that's honest, and a person that's stable, and a person that loves you, and a person that, reveres you. Your broken consciousness can't, fathom that. And it's like, now let me read this. Broken consciousness speaks of the distortion that life's trauma and bad experiences uses to disrupt our ability to see our own worth. Broken consciousness speaks of the distortion that life's trauma and bad experiences uses to disrupt our ability, our personal ability to see our own worth. Because we can't see the value in ourselves, it becomes a challenge to imagine that anyone else values us beyond our own self-evaluation. You know, like people who have been sexually molested, people that have been raped, people that have been abandoned, people that have suffered through narcissistic abuse. These persons have been traumatized, and the trauma, the intention of the trauma was to empty the self-esteem bank. And so when these persons come out of situations like this and they try to enter into a new relationship that is nothing like the previous, if they've not done the personal work, if you've not had a therapist or a counselor or somebody to help you to rebuild your self perspective, and you enter into a situation that is worlds apart from what the dysfunctional norm you're accustomed to, your subconscious mind will find a way to sabotage, because subconsciously it'll be hard for you to accept that you're even worthy of that. In Jeremiah, and I like this text because I think it gives us perspective on, self-evaluation. And in Jeremiah chapter 1, verses 4 through 8, God is calling Jeremiah forth as a prophet. But we hear Jeremiah's self-evaluation, self-perspective register in his own words. It says, "Then the word of the Lord came unto me, saying, Before I formed thee in the belly, I knew thee. And before thou camest forth out of the womb, I sanctified thee, and I ordained thee a prophet unto the nations." Listen to what Jeremiah says. "Then said I, Lord God, behold, I cannot speak." God just called him a prophet to the nations, and he's saying, I cannot speak. He's trying to sabotage God's great plan. "For I am a child." God's saying, I called you to speak to the nations, and Jeremiah says, I can't speak, I'm a child. And see, this is his psychology being articulated. But most of us never articulate this broken consciousness. So life will present us with opportunities. And rather than articulate it, we'll have this subconscious conversation within us that says, oh, you can't do that. You shouldn't try that. That's too much for you. And your broken consciousness will talk you out of everything God has ordained for you. Make sense? And he goes on to say, "But the Lord said unto me, Say not, I am a child, for thou shalt go to all that I shall send thee, and whatsoever I command thee thou shalt speak. Be not afraid of their faces, for I am with thee to deliver thee, saith the Lord." So another thing we learn from this is that you have to begin to control the conversation within you. You have to begin to control your internal conversation. In other words, when you have these thoughts that work against the best version of your life, you have to begin to pull those things down, denounce those things, not exalt those things as truth in your mind. You have to begin to, with your conscious mind, you have to begin to say of those thoughts you have of inferiority, whatever works for you. Thank you, Vanessa. Whatever works for you. The thing we learn from this is that you have to begin to control the conversation within you. You have to begin to control your internal conversation. In other words, when you have these thoughts that work against the best version of your life, you have to begin to pull those things down, denounce those things, not exalt those things as truth in your mind. You have to begin to, with your conscious mind, you have to begin to say of those thoughts you have of inferiority, whatever works for you. Thank you, Vanessa. Whatever works for you. This is not me. Like, for instance, there are occasions that I have opportunities to stand on stages and to go places that are just, next level. And it's like out of the realm of what I've been accustomed to sometimes. And before I would enter these stages, these thoughts will come up in my mind. And how you here? You're a fraud. You were a father at 15 years old. You a little black dude from New Orleans, Louisiana, out of Holly Grove, and these people invited you here. These people made a mistake. And I have to literally go through this process in my own mind. Sometimes I actually articulate it. I was born, I have to talk to myself. I was born in the world to do this. Sometimes I'm arguing with myself. There's a part of me that's trying to recall the limitations of my previous brokenness, trying to handcuff me to my history, not wanting to release me to my destiny, and I have to use language to detach my conscious mind from that subconscious limitation, if that makes sense. I have to talk to myself. I personally, the world says, well, people talk to themselves, something's wrong with them. I believe something's wrong with you if you don't talk to yourself. I really do. I think that people who are sane, people who are stable, people that are consistent, are people that talk to themselves, because your greatest critic lives within. Your greatest enemy is facing you in the mirror every morning. And sometimes your broken consciousness won't allow you to accept the worthiness of better. And so God presents you with a better man. God presents you with a better woman. But because you're still identifying with the previous, you can't accept that I deserve this. This is where I actually belong. This is where I should have been from the beginning. That's the way you have to begin to talk to yourself, You got a man now that opens doors for you, a man that honors you, a man that's not trying to pressure you into sex, a man that wants to just spoil you, a man that wants to just love you, a man that's mild-mannered, but still he's a man. Don't let that broken consciousness talk you out of this, You deserve that. That's what you should have had from the beginning. This is the man you should have had from the beginning. All of that other stuff was a mistake. This is the truth. That's the way you have to begin to talk to yourself, because your broken consciousness will cause you to sabotage great potential relationships. Number 3, I only have four. Third reason thank you, CL. Thank you. The third reason we might sabotage relationships that might be promising is that we have not addressed our estimation of what is attractive to us. I like this one. The third reason you might sabotage a potentially good relationship is because you have not really truthfully addressed what you find attractive and why you find this attractive and where that attraction is stemming from. See, most people are failing in relationships. Listen to this very carefully. Listen to this very, very carefully. F5, thank you. Most people are failing in relationships because your attraction, if you really boil it down, your attraction is purely driven by what is visually stimulating and sexually attractive. Thank you, Kim. You're moved by who looks good and who moves you sexually. And you keep making relational choices based on those attractions, and you keep getting your heart broken, you keep getting your life ruptured, and then finally you try something different, and you know this is a good person, but maybe they don't look as good, or maybe they don't move you as much sexually, and so you're really not even giving them a shot because you're still married to. Let me read this to you. We have not addressed our estimation of what is attractive to us. It's like an addiction. See, you're attracted to the poison. You're attracted to the poison. My refrigerator is right over here, that direction. And I have a lot of fruit in there, you know, as opposed to cookies and candy and all of that stuff that I would love to just be able to eat. But at 55 years old and desiring to live a long time, I'm realizing that I can't make those choices anymore. Now watch this. I'm not really attracted to the fruit. I'm really not. Fruit doesn't move me like Chips Ahoy cookies or Oreos. My God, I felt something in my spirit when I said it. Whew, grapes just don't do it for me like that. But I've come to a point where I realize what I've been attracted to is the very thing that has been killing me. So now watch this. I have to make an adjustment to my attraction. Am I going to be attracted to what, my base appetite that has no common sense about it is drawn to? Or am I, classy lady, thank you, sweetheart, or am I going to be attracted to what my good brain, this part of me says is going to benefit you and work towards your greater goal, Laquana, thank you, of living long? It boils down to that. That's what most of y'all are. It's you still attracted to the Chips Ahoy. Pete, God bless you. God bless you, thank you. You still attracted to the Chips Ahoy. You don't want the oranges or the grapes or whatever. You still want the fried pork chops. You don't want the fish. God knows I'm more attracted to fried pork chop than I am fish. I had fish for lunch. Fish, grilled, wasn't even fried. But I understand that attraction to that other stuff is working against me. So I don't feed that attraction. I feed, let me read this. It's like an addiction. You have to address your estimation of what's attractive to you. Tia, God bless you. Thank you so much. It's like an addiction. We hurt enough to know we don't need it. When you're addicted to drugs, you hurt enough, it hurts you enough, and the people around you enough for you to know you don't need it, but you've not addressed the broken part of your brain that is addicted to the poison. So just saying, I don't want it no more. It's not going to be enough. You can't adjust the behavior until you address the addiction. So now when you start talking about being addicted to people that are toxic for you, I believe there's this process. I would suggest that you probably go sit and talk with a real counselor or therapist. But I know that it has to begin with open honesty and an estimation of what these kinds of people have produced in your life historically. Okay, you like this kind of man. This kind of man. Okay, now historically, what does that kind of man produce for you? See, the reason I have a refrigerator full of fruit now, and I don't have I don't have no cookies or candy in the cupboard, is because the doctor said, here's your blood work. They call me Reb. Here's your blood work, Reb. And it ain't looking so good because you're eating the wrong stuff. If you want to live a long time like you say, you're going to have to change what you eat. The reason you can't get off this weight, Reb, is because you eating the wrong stuff. Well, I'm eating that stuff because that's what I'm attracted to. I'm attracted to that because that's all I've ever known. That's my norm. But my norm has been dysfunctional. And so now I'm making choices rather than surrendering to impulses. That's it right there. I'm making choices rather than surrendering to impulses. See, most of you, when it comes down to what you call yourself attracted to, you're attracted to impulse. So you see a man in the mall and he look fine and ooh, something went through me. Or you see a woman and she got it, bang, 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 bang. Something went through me. Well, that's an impulse. Animals had that. Dumb animals had that. You're higher than that. You have a brain, you have a spirit. So that means you have intellect and you have discernment. You have to begin to establish your relational attractions based on your intellect and your spiritual discernment. And there are some of you who have not closed the doors. And it's showing up in the way you mistreat this present decent person. You don't want to be, I'm going to repeat this again. You don't want to be a broken person that goes around breaking good people because you've not completed your process. It would be better for you to let this person go and just, play around with your little process or whatever you call yourself doing than to involve a decent person in this situation and you end up being named as an abuser in the life of this person because you did not handle this right. Hurt people, and sometimes hurt people unintentionally because they involve good people in their process before they've really healed, before they've really come to terms, and you involve them in a whole lot of your drama, love triangles and all this kind of stuff here. Okay, 2 Corinthians 6:17.